off all these siege tanks now. Those drones really desperately trying to run for their lives. There's Wednesday Night
vVv Gaming.
after the I guess brother blood battle on Antigua shipyard. Some nice proxy pylon play into warp prism play, giving EGiNcontrol a victory. And now we move on to game 2. It will be red versus purple once more. EGiNcontrol this time spawning as the red Protoss player on the top right hand side of the map. Meanwhile, on the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have Murder as the purple Terran. And what do you think Murder's going to do, since we said that he does have strategies from 6 months ago? I'm trying to remember, what was popular 6 months ago?
Yeah, I think that we've seen just a lot of MMM out of him. Marine, Marauder, Medevac, and I'd really like to see him start using more multi-pronged attacks, attacking at the front door, plus dropping in mineral lines and really harassing a Protoss. I know a lot of Terrans have been complaining Protoss can pretty much easily take a third base, depending on what sort of strategy that Terran opens up. And I know there's sort of a silent agreement amongst a lot of Terrans and Protoss to basically get that one Rax or one gate expand and work off 2 bases at a very minimum. So it'll be interesting to see what Murder does to try to slow down the economy of EGiNcontrol, whether he hits some sort of timing or whether he's able to use aggression to really harass the probe lines.
Yeah, we'll see what Murder's going to do right now. Nothing too telling as of yet. First 2 minutes of the game, pretty standard. Just train probes, train SCVs. If you're a Protoss, you get the Chrono Boost. As we now see finally a barracks going down. So it's not going to be any crazy Nexus or Command Center first. As EGiNcontrol now doing the customary scout, pretty much the MLG version of Shakura's Plateau, almost identically similar or identical to the BattleNet version, except there are supply depots on the low ground to prevent any sort of proxy pylon in that particular location. There are proxy wall off as the 2 harvesters will pass each other, not seeing each other, and now make for the other bases.
We talked a little bit about old school in the new metagame, and one of the new things that Terran's really doing is they're starting to wall off against Protoss. They get that second supply depot down a little bit early, and they really make it so that Protoss can't see whether they've taken a gas or not. And we see that Murder, again, a player who probably hasn't played in the recent metagame in the past several months, does not wall off here. So EGiNcontrol is going to be able to get in, I believe, with this probe. The timing of the Marines is going to be pretty close here, but EGiNcontrol is going to see that there's no gas so far. So that's really going to shut down a lot of builds and give him the opportunity to basically choose what sort of build he wants to counter this gasless possible expansion from Murder.
Yeah, what I'm most likely going to expect is that EGiNcontrol is going to try to expand behind this, knowing that there's not much that Murder can really do to stop this. And if there is going to be an expansion, EGiNcontrol may try to follow it up with 2 expansions of his own, or perhaps do some sort of tricky play that we saw with Warp Prisms, as a command center may be placed down here. We should perhaps see 1 bunker, perhaps 2 at the ramp. But then again, we all know that Zealots can really eat through Marines, especially once they're inside the base, and we'll see what exactly EGiNcontrol does to follow this up.
So again, both players going to be able to open here with their expansion, but Murder should have been able to shut down the scouting of EGiNcontrol if he did place that wall off, and he could have made this command center on the high ground, and EGiNcontrol would have been guessing, is my opponent going for Cloaked Banshees? Is he going for 1-1-1? A lot of different strategies which are quite good in this matchup, but now he knows exactly what's coming. He knows that there's just no gas and 1 Rax, and Murder doing a smart thing here, getting up the bunker with good timing, right as the Stalker and the Zealot poking at the front door here. So he has to load up those Marines. There they are. So EGiNcontrol going to get a little more scout information, definitely going to verify that there is a command center.
Well, I don't think he actually saw the command center, but he could guess that it is there.
Yeah.
I have seen some Terran players put a bunker on the ramp, not have gas, and then quickly throw down 2 refineries right behind it, and then try to just head fake their opponent that much. That's not what Murder is doing this time around, as we do see a Nexus coming in from EGiNcontrol. And look at this, we are going into the robotics facility, but EGiNcontrol with only 2 gateways. We'll see how he tries to follow this up.
I think that's smart. The robotics definitely going to allow him to get a little bit of map control and vision with those early observers. It'll be interesting to see whether he makes 1 or 2 observers. You definitely want to make the one to send into your opponent's base, but a second one can start to spot for all sorts of things on the map, like drops, We do see the Murder does have the 4 racks out, so he's going to be pumping Marines, but he has yet to take a gas. So no stim, no combat shields, no upgrades coming for him anytime soon. No reactors or even tech labs. So EGiNcontrol going to find a very basic, just mostly Marine and SCV force here for Murder once this Observer makes its way across.
Yeah, once the Observer does make its way across, you can see it's about, what, 80% done. It's going to fly in. We finally see Murder taking 2 of his refineries, nothing yet at the natural expansion. So it's still going to be quite some time before those refineries are done. We get tech labs or any additional add-ons. So Murder really trying to play for the long haul. And with this, EGiNcontrol could easily establish up a 3rd base if he opted or decided to.
And EGiNcontrol cut units there for a little bit. He's just got the 1 Stalker, the 1 Zealot, and the few Sentries, so he is very light on army, and that's allowed him to get a probe lead 37 to 32, as well as that little bit of tech with the robotics. But we see that Murder now pushing out with no stim, no combat shield, just a ton of Marines here, and we'll see whether he's able to do any sort of damage. EGiNcontrol doing his best to warp in units here on the high ground. The Stalkers will be there, and he does have force fields, so we'll see how good these force fields are.
Oh, and a Warp Prism simply flying over the middle of the field, and it may get shot down to 98 hit points. All of its shields are already gone, and now that Warp Prism has been revealed, we can see that there are some force fields on the ramp now. More Marines need to be trained up back at home. We are going into a tech lab, but that Warp Prism is going to be a real problematic as those Marines need to get back home, and perhaps more Marines need to be rallied into that Warp Prism location.
Yeah, Murder saw that. He does control the southern Zelnaga Tower, so he saw that Warp Prism go right by, and he's got his Marines in position here on a little bit of a patrol route. They're going to shut down the Warp Prism if they stay here, depending on the timing. EGiNcontrol, very nice, has his Observer in the area, so he knows that the Marines are here waiting for that Warp Prism. He has yet to warp anything in. We do see that Murder took this opportunity to start the tech labs. He has yet to start Combat Shield or the Stim upgrade, but he's also started his factory. I imagine he will be getting a matching start port here to start his medevac production, and he will be going into that normal MMM.
Yeah, so pretty much a standard build coming in. Engineering Bay has been established. No missile turrets as of yet. The Warp Prism still a clear and present danger hiding off over here. Could warp in units as we now see Stalkers and Sentries slowly making their way in. Marines and Marauders jumping inside the bunkers as well. It is going to be quite some time before Stim or Combat Shield is completed. A poor Marine at his post at the Zelnaga Tower has been taken down, and we'll see what EGiNcontrol does to follow this up, as it looks like he may be trying to establish a 3rd base.
Yeah, we already see that the orbital command, the 3rd one, is done for Murder. It's in his base, and EGiNcontrol back home added the double forge, so he's working on 1-1 upgrades. He's adding charge as well as a dark shrine, and EGiNcontrol, I know he's pretty famous for DTs in his PvZ matchup, but he basically flexes this this tech path in a lot of the matchups that we've seen from him, and he can get those DTs with that Warp Prism, and as he puts pressure on the front with those charge lots or tries to intercept any sort of attack by Murder, DTs in the main for Murder can just wreak havoc on his SCVs.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see what's going to happen as the observers are still flying around. It looks like the Warp Prism should be able to warp in those Dark Templars, then go into the transport mode, pick them up, and simply drop them off in the field. And that is going to be problematic as we see EGiNcontrol now running off of 7 gateways, or actually 6 gateways with a 7th one on the way. And it looks like the Dark Templars are ready to go.
Yeah, they're loaded up in that Warp Prism, so I think EGiNcontrol is probably going to want to put some sort of pressure on the front door or do something aggressive to pull the attention of Murder away. Murder does get a scan on that 3rd of EGiNcontrol. He knows that he might be free here to lift off his own command center and take a 3rd. It'll be interesting to see which he takes, but I have a feeling EGiNcontrol is going to wait for some sort of timing here with this Warp Prism and some sort of counter aggression as well.
But EGiNcontrol now forced to retreat with this Warp Prism after a sensor tower coming in from Murder. I was hoping for a missile turret of something like that, but no, a sensor tower actually pushing back all the units, but the Warp Prism saying, you know what, I can actually push in now. There are no missile turrets inside Murder's base. There's not that many Marauders or Marines inside, and now it is going to be a straight up drop, taking down the sensor tower and taking down those units.
Yeah, the Marines here, they're going to try to focus down this Warp Prism. There are a few units. Here comes the scan. They're going to do their best to take on these Dark Templar, pulling a few SCVs as well to tank a little bit of damage. That Warp Prism is in warp mode. We do have a big engagement in the third of In Control. He might actually lose this, but the DT is wrecking havoc. There needs to be another scan in the main. Some force fields doing a nice job of controlling the attack at the third of In Control. And we have no Marines out trying to take down the Warp Prism. So right now, In Control is going to save that Warp Prism and save his third at the same time. Murder shut down by those force fields. Great positioning on the forces of In Control.
But now Murder going into the second base, and all the units are out of position here, and Marauders and Marines are going to engage, and they're going to pretty much go unchallenged. There are Dark Templars. There's the scanner sweep, taking down multiple units there. And now that those force fields are actually caused a little bit of havoc, as now In Control is unable to engage. Marines and Marauders are battling up against the Stalkers, and there's the GG.
Wow. Yeah, pretty quick there. I think In Control was going down a number of tech routes. He went for the Observers, obviously for map control with that Warp Prism play and DTs, and that's just not very strong against that MMM. You really need either the Archons to tank some of that damage, or you need some of the some sort of AoE with Storms or Colossi to really cut through the Marines and Marauders. Especially Murder had +1. He had the Medivacs out there healing, and DTs, as long as there's enough scans by the Terran, don't fare so well against the high DPS of MMM.